Okay, so welcome back to lesson 2, and we're just going to discuss how to create student voice and choice throughout project-based learning. So I kind of always like to use the example of this cake. It looks really easy to make, right? However, within this cake, you're going to see a lot of different layers. And when we're talking about student voice and choice, it's important that we're really diving into each layer in order to kind of know how to go about this the correct way. So what exactly do I mean by student voice and student choice throughout projects? So it's really important for students to create their own learning paths, meaning students can create their own rubrics. They can give you examples of different ways to articulate and show their mastery to a particular standard or skill set. And it really helps them take ownership in their learning because they're developing and creating all these innovative ideas to represent their own learning. And sometimes we may think we're the teacher, they're the students, this is our house, this is our rules. However, students are so creative, and you would actually be very surprised with a lot of the ideas that students come up with on their own. And that's what I always like to tell other teachers is that it's okay to kind of step back and really just kind of be a facilitator and see what students are capable of coming up with. Again, and we talked about this in the first lesson, how we may have students that are really good at drawing. So they instead may want to create and design a comic strip to represent their figurative language versus your idea of your project. So I just kind of want you to take that in mind. So why should we provide students opportunities for voice and choice throughout their project-based learning? Because first of all, it's very motivating for students. When students get excited and think, wow, I actually get to choose what I want to do, it gets them to be a lot less passive and a lot more active towards their learning. So then again, you may get some of those, frequent flyers in your classroom who tend to have behavioral issues, and this is a way to really kind of change that game. And students won't look at it as, oh, this is another boring old assignment. You really want them to get motivated and eager to want to fulfill all these requirements because they're able to come up with certain parts and certain aspects of this project on their own. And if you think about it too, it also really promotes 21st century learning and leadership skills. Because when we're trying to prepare students for the real world, if you think about it, we really, really want them to be able to show that they're a leader and come up with ideas on their own. So some of the best practices. So we want to make sure that we're always considering the purpose of giving students voice and choice. So for example, why are we offering it? Again, we just discussed this. Make sure, boys and girls, it's important for you to be a leader and not a follower. And this is why I'm giving you voice, because I want to see that you're able to stick to certain guidelines with having that flexibility within it. Also, this is the most important piece of project-based learning, is that student voice and choice should be limited at times. Because if you think about the real world and different workplaces, we're preparing students to be college and career ready. Students, when we're in the real world, we can't always be working with everyone we want to work with, and we can't be doing everything and every time we want. So we have to really make realistic expectations. So this is where I really came up with the idea of really having structure for students. So maybe if you're new to this at first, you should create maybe a list of maybe 5 to 10 different projects that students could do or different ways, and they can pick from the list so they're still getting their student choice. Because remember, you are not the only director. You're creating these options with students. So you're brainstorming with students what they can be doing. And it's really important, again, that you really want to find out what your students are interested in. At the beginning of the year, you could send home surveys, have them create dream collages on poster boards to kind of get to know each student individually. And lastly, reflection equals voice. And when we're really zeroing in on student voice, I want you guys to start thinking of maybe some end of the year project reflections. Students need to be reflecting on their strengths and weaknesses throughout the project and really be an active listener, or you will lose all credibility to your students. So, for example, if there are certain things that they say, well, we need improving on this, Miss Capini, well, all right, I'm gonna take in what you're saying, and we're gonna come up with solutions and be solution oriented in order to kind of make this better. So that's just a little glimpse of into student voice and choice. Just some of the things that I want you guys to be actively thinking about as you go along with your units.